Hey everyone, back for another week of the Open Gym Mailbag. This week's featured video question comes from Twitter, Jake Thompson at Jake_T21, and he wants to know, what are the chances UW gets Coach of the Year, Player of the Year, and Freshman of the Year in the Big Ten? I really like the question, Jake. I don't think the odds are very good. I don't think it's likely to happen, and I'll start with why I don't think it's going to happen, and that's the Freshman of the Year. As good as Chucky Hepburn has been and as valuable as he's been to this team, and if you read the rest of the mailbag, you'll see how much I appreciate him, how much some other fans appreciate him with their questions. So I don't want this to be a knock on Chucky, but I just don't think the rest of the league's voters are going to vote for a guy whose numbers are where they are. I mean, if you look at Chucky's numbers, there's nothing overwhelming there. He's 7 points a game, a couple rebounds, a couple assists. Again, I think for those of us who watch every game, we can appreciate the value on both ends of the court, the poise, the energy, everything that he provides has just been great this season. And, I don't know where Wisconsin would be without him. I just don't see him winning the Big Ten Freshman of the Year. I think a guy like Bryce McGowan's at Nebraska is probably going to win it. He's got a ton of Big Ten Player of the Week, Freshman of the Week honors. And I think you can make the argument that a guy shouldn't win a major award if his team's going to finish 1-19, which Nebraska probably will. But again, I just think that a lot of voters are going to look at numbers. And if it's not him, then Malachi Branham from Ohio State also has a bet. I would hope that Chucky gets all freshman team, despite the fact that those numbers aren't fantastic. I hope voters will have watched enough basketball, enough Wisconsin games to appreciate that, hey, this is one of the 5 best players, one of the 5 most valuable freshmen in the league. Now let's move on to the other awards. Certainly Johnny Davis has a great chance of being Player of the Year, not only in the Big Ten, but nationally. But that's a close race too, and I just don't know how it's going to end up. We've got 4 games left for Johnny, 2 weeks left in the Big Ten regular season, basically 10 days. And it's still a toss-up. I think Johnny and Kofi Cockburn from Illinois are the front runners at this point, and I think that race could go either way, depending on how the title race goes. If Illinois wins this league outright, I think it's going to be tough to sway other voters in terms of voting Johnny over Kofi, even though, again, every other year I think Johnny could be running away with this thing. I just think there's a lot of other great candidates, not only Kofi, but Keegan Murray at Iowa is a great candidate in most years. I think the fact his team's going to finish probably no better than 6th hurts him. EJ Liddell from Ohio State has had another fantastic year. But again, he's not going to be in those top 3 title contenders. I think that's going to hurt him. So I really think it's a Kofi or Johnny race, and it could go either way. I mentioned this on Twitter last night. I could see one of them winning the Big Ten Player of the Year and the other winning the National Player of the Year. I don't think that's out of the question because it's a different set of voters. You're talking national voters versus guys who've only watched one league. So I could see Kofi winning the Big Ten Player of the Year and Johnny being National Player of the Year by some panels, or flip that around. And now let's move on to Coach of the Year, which again I think comes down to the title race, and that's far from over. Greg Gard has a strong case for Big Ten Coach of the Year, regardless of where this team finishes, whether it's first, second, third. This team was picked to finish 10th, and I think voters have to take that into account. That hey, this team has overachieved based on what we expected them to do and be, and Greg Gard's a big reason for that. I hope it doesn't hurt the Greg Gard vote that Johnny Davis is going to be potential Player of the Year, because I do think Gard deserves some credit in that. A lot of that's on Johnny. He's developed, he's worked hard in the offseason, he's done a great job, but you can't punish Greg Gard for an individual achieving to the level of potential Player of the Year. But I also think there's other great candidates in the race for Coach of the Year too. Like I said, if Illinois wins outright, you've got to consider Brad Underwood. Even though his team was picked to finish higher, he's done a great job of kind of melding together stars and transfers and freshmen and everybody. And if you go 15-5 in this league, as Illinois might, that deserves consideration. Steve Pikiell at Rutgers is a guy that deserves consideration. 2 years ago, I really thought he had a great chance. Any other year, Steve Pikiell probably wins Coach of the Year for doing what he did for Rutgers. But there just happened to be a better candidate that year, and his name was Greg Gard, because he had a miserable season off the court with the Howard Moore tragedy, a lot of in-season stuff to deal with Kobe King, the Eric Helland resignation. And Greg Gard guided that team to a shocking run to a share of the Big Ten title and deserved that award. I know there were some people that thought Pikiell deserved it. So I wonder if, again, it's going to come down to giving it to Pikiell this time because he didn't win it 2 years ago, if voters kind of, even it out a little bit. But I don't know. I have a vote in the Big Ten race 10 days out. I don't know where I'm going to vote. I just think there's too much basketball to be played, and I want to see how it plays out. Read the mailbag this week. It's the longest one yet, I think. There's a ton of questions on the Juwan Howard fallout. UW men's basketball is hot right now, and there are a lot of great questions about that. Some UW football questions, even a couple Packers questions, and Marissa Mosley questions. So check that out, please. Thanks for reading. Thanks for asking questions, and I'll see you next week.